Welcome to the Kerbal Space Center, the finest space center we have here on Kerbin. That may be because it's the only one, the only functioning space center, but it's most definitely the finest. For you see, it's also the home of the alleged space hero Jebediah Kermin. Ah, Jebediah Kermin. Who hasn't heard of him? But have you ever been as far as to wonder how our space hero Jebediah got into spaceflight? I mean, he's known as a wild man, but you know, is that what got him into the space career? His story goes back to his childhood. You see, even in his early days, young Jebediah could always be found hanging around the space center. He'd have put on his space suit, pretending to be one of the great heroes of the time before his. And, you know, he'd collect the occasional piece of shrapnel that was left from an explosion. His love for space was so incredible that one day, while he was examining the newly made pod that somebody had left lying around on the launch pad, he got a pretty crazy idea. You see, Jebediah, as we know, has always been kind of a kook, got the craziest plans. And they say this is his first ever attempt at spaceflight. Of course, we don't know what he does with New Year's Eve. Jeb's plan was fairly simple. In his time at the Space Center, he'd, you know, found a jetpack lying around here and there, and he'd seen that the development team had been working with a new kind of highly explosive but very powerful fuel. And this brought Jeb to an idea. Jeb's plan was to use this newly, obviously highly efficient fuel to get up onto the launch tower. And from there, he was planning to take a leap of faith and jump onto a rocket that was about to launch. The rocket would take him into space and he'd have his first space flight. And the day arose and Jeb's first ever space flight was nearing. Jeb took his leap of faith. However, soon enough, Jeb had realized he jumped off the wrong side of the tower. And as he fell down, life seemed to go in slow motion for poor Jeb. He could see his life flashing in front of his eyes, how he'd spent his days frolicking around in the tall grass around the space station. Oh, those were the good days, but that all seemed to be over now. One stupid mistake, and it seemed like his space career had ended before it even started. That one stupid mistake of jumping off the wrong side of the launch tower cost him his first ever space flight. Jeb was devastated when he woke up in the hospital. Every bone in his body had broken, including his heart. However, the doctor said they could put him back together. Of course, without bones you'd be a bit of a lifeless mush. Kinda like Jeb had been once he'd fallen off the tower. But the doctor said they could put metal bones back in his body, making him close to indestructible. This seemed like a great idea to Jeb. And obviously, once he recovered, the space station thought it would be a great idea to send somebody made of metal into space. The space station had big plans for test monkey Jeb. But Jeb turned out to be more than just a metal test monkey. Jeb turned out to be one of the bravest, most daring, adventurous, and kind of the craziest astronaut the space program had ever known.